Deebo.
But, yeah.
What did you see from him? What kind of impact does he have?
I said it last week.
Right.
I think people pushed back. I don't remember particularly. I know you pushed back and said it was Raheem Mostert. Deebo Samuel changed when people coincide like the Niners' emergence last year to the transaction to bring Emmanuel Sanders, and that was part of it. But somebody else emerged when Emmanuel Sanders got here too, and that was Deebo Samuel. And I think Deebo Samuel at the beginning of last year changed how this run game is used, because Deebo Samuel is one of one in the NFL. There's nobody else in the NFL that you have to account for like this, or maybe there is like Tyreek Hill and stuff, but you have to worry about Deebo Samuel in so many different ways. When he comes in motion, you're now worrying about him getting the ball in the jet sweep. You're worried about him getting the ball in that push pass. You're worried about him going out there and catching a screen. You're worried about him lead blocking for someone following him. And you're so focused on Deebo Samuel, and they give it to Raheem Mostert the other way, and you have two guys go that way with him. His impact, you can't put it into words. And then you bring into the fact his mentality, the ferocity, the physicality that he plays with, the way he can just get your team going because he plays so hard and he sets a physical tone for your team. And then you also mentioned that you can actually just stick him out wide and he can go beat people one-on-one with pure routes. Like Shaq Griffin is a pretty good corner, and Deebo Samuel worked him last year in Week 17 versus the Seahawks. So I think when you look at all of that, like, yeah, Ayuk has a similar skill set, but he's not the same player. He's not Deebo. There's nobody in the NFL that's Deebo Samuel. And that's where I think that he's the one guy in this offense that they can't replace. And you can send other guys in motion. You can send Richie James.
I'm gonna disagree with that, but keep going. Hold on. I got a good one to push back on, but you don't even see it coming. You don't know who I'm going to say. But keep going.
Okay, that's fine. But
sorry.
I know you're going to say Kyle Juszczyk.
Oh, how'd you know?
I know you're going to say Kyle Juszczyk. We have a sample size of the offense doing well last year for X amount of games without Kyle Juszczyk. And the run game working. Ross Dwelley did an okay job.
The offense did really good without before. The run game worked really well before Deebo Samuel became a huge portion of it in the second half of the season. I mean, they crushed.
I still think that he wasn't a factor in the pass game, but he was still
Cleveland game. They didn't need him. But hold on, you're right. Look.
The Cleveland
Deebo's great. I want to come back to the identity, the concept of identity, because Deebo is a huge part of the Niners' identity. But I think if there's one person who makes up the identity of the Niners offense, it's Juszczyk, because they're a 21 personnel offense team, and he gives them that. They don't want to be 12. They don't want to be 11. And Deebo could be doing this stuff out of any personnel grouping. But the thing that makes the Niners ultimately unique is Juszczyk. And when he's involved in the game as more than a blocker, he tends to score. He scored a touchdown last night. He scored in the Super Bowl. I'm not saying he's a better player than Deebo. And I think that Deebo is – everything you say about him is true. Everything you say about him is true. And the effect that he has on defenses that you described is absolutely true. And he takes this offense to a whole different level. We've seen it with Deebo, without Deebo. It's better with Deebo. But all I'm saying is, like, the foundational, basic, most important identity of the offense, I think, is the fullback. But I don't know how you would even win this argument. So
honestly, we're not in that building discussing it, so we don't know. But the one thing I will say about Deebo Samuel, and the reason he's one of one, is that yesterday they came out and they spread it out. They motioned Jeff Wilson out of the backfield and they spread it out. So it was basically like a 5-wide look.
Yes.
What they then did, after that was that they motioned Deebo Samuel into the backfield and they ran the ball with him like he's a running back.
Yes, they did.
That type of stuff you can't do with anybody else.
You do with Jalen Hurd if he ever stayed on the field.
You can do it with Jalen Hurd. So someone said stop the Kittle disrespect. Kittle is the best player on this.
Yes, Kittle is the best player on the team. We're not
There's no argument for that.
No,
but there is a value in the way Shanahan uses Deebo that makes him the ultimate chess piece. He's their wild card. Every single play, you don't know where Deebo Samuel is going to be.
Right.
And if the ball gets to his hands, God help you. There's very few negative plays with Deebo Samuel.
That is true. What I want to sit with Deebo. To me, he's a running back who also plays wide receiver. They list him as a wide receiver. They use him as a running back. He
Let me
gets
ask
the ball on. What's that?
Let me ask you this. This is
What?
gonna be a little. It's gonna be a little
What?
spicy. Do you think he's used like that because that's his only skill set, or do you think they use him like that because of the quarterback?
Mostly the second part. Mostly the second.
I-
But what
I-
I want to say is compare his usage. Go to the next gen stats and compare his routes run from last night to Ayuk's. Like Ayuk's getting down the field. They use him down the field. Debo is running behind the line of scrimmage almost entirely the entire game. And that's great because he has such a huge impact. But he's basically a running back. They use him to get to the edges in a lot of different ways. And they even line him up at running back sometimes. And he definitely is him or Mostert is the best running back on the team. But I just feel like he's an excellent football player. I don't know if he's a better wide receiver than Brandon Ayuk. He's a better football player than Brandon Ayuk, but I think Ayuk's probably a better wide receiver.
Yeah, and that's because Ayuk is also really good. He's proven that in a short time that he's a very special athlete and all of that. And this was actually a conversation we had, I think, before Debo even came back from injury.
Yes.
When Ayuk debuted, we had this exact conversation, and I agreed with you across the board. What I will say is that Debo Samuel has proven, if you go watch him in South Carolina and you've seen him in the NFL, he is a legit wide receiver. Like you don't.
No, he is. He is.
With him.
He absolutely
is. Ayuk, but he's still a starting wide receiver in the NFL without doing all these things.
I just think he's better as a ball carrier.
Agreed.
Like he's even better. Yeah.
Agreed. But that's what he adds. And then the other thing with Debo Samuel, real quick, is that he's a crazy good athlete. Like he has unbelievable quickness where it's like legit wide receiver type quickness. Like last year against Seattle, to go back to the Monday night memory, which was one of the worst days of my last season, but to go back to that game, he beat Shaq Griffin on 3rd and 2. It was press man coverage, and he just flat beat him on a go route. He beat him.
He did. And he beat him on a slant earlier in the game. He kind of worked him.
Yeah, if you beat a legit starting cornerback on a go route and man coverage, you're legit. And if that ball was thrown maybe a half yard in front, he might have had a touchdown that won that game.
Agree. Absolutely. What was I going to say with Debo? Oh, before we need to factor that we're not done with the Debo conversation until we talk about his injury. He has a hamstring injury. And the thing about Debo is
he had a hamstring problem in college.
He had a hamstring problem in college. He also broke bones in college. He plays very hard. He breaks bones. He pulls muscles. So I think he is unique, and he is, you could say, the most valuable player in the offense. But I think this is kind of part of the deal. And it was part of the deal with Percy Harvin.
Right.
Like you're in and out. And when you're in,
been a first-round pick, I think, if that hamstring problem wasn't real in college. I really do think he would have been a first-round pick.
True.
I don't think people overthought him like Metcalf. I think people were just worried about the injury.
God, did I overthink Metcalf? I am the most guilty of overthinking Metcalf. But I don't want to talk about that.
I don't want to talk about that.
I did not. I was like, man, he can't run a single route. But I don't want to rehash that because I'm already.
Hey, you got Terry McLaurin right, so